Welcome everyone to another episode of Tips from My Garage. My name is Lisiate Tonga. I'm a recovering addict, the father of two boys, husband to a beautiful wife, owner of online consulting business Upgrade Version U.0, and author to ebook Q&A Between Two Addicts. And today I want to talk to you all about how to eat an elephant. Early on in my recovery, I struggled with the idea of quitting everything that I was doing. So I would ruminate on what my issues were, what my vices were, my addictions, and I would think long and hard about how I was going to overcome all of them. So it always seemed so great, so much bigger than I could handle. And so it also became overwhelming and too much to even fathom. Hence the reason I want to talk to you about eating elephants, because elephants are rather large, one of the largest creatures in the world. And I'm sure by now you would have heard this old adage about how to eat an elephant, and just the thought of defeat itself is quite overwhelming, and it has been the same with my vices early on in my struggles, or in my attempt to to even begin the recovery process. I Whenever I got caught in that thought process, it became too much because I didn't know how to tackle everything all at once. And that's why it made me anxious. It stressed me out. It made me feel inadequate. I also didn't know where to start. And so the idea that you could eat this elephant, in your brain, it just doesn't compute. It's too big. And so the answer to how to eat an elephant is to do it one bite at a time. And I guess in my brain, what I was thinking was, what is it that I can do that is going to be that's going to create the least amount of anxiety for me or difficulty for me, because I didn't want to be stressed out over it. I didn't want it to impact me so much that it would turn me off it, because thinking about doing it cold turkey turned me off it. I had I had gone through a period of time where I did quit everything cold turkey, but it was something that at the time, I think I was maybe around 24, 25 years old when I tried to do it, and I was successful in doing it. But at the time, I felt like I was compelled to do it, and I was also younger, and so I gave it a shot. And it worked because I didn't have the same problems. It wasn't as great as the issues that I had when I was around 35. So that there was around a 10-year difference between the last time I went through the journey and the one that I went through before that. So around 24, 25, I did go through a stint where I had quit cold turkey. I think it was just for maybe a few months. I'm not exactly sure how many months it was, but I had managed it. But this was something that I was counting out on a day by day basis. I would, abstinence was the goal. I'm not sure that full recovery was the goal at the time. I thought at the time I was just trying to be perfect. And I thought that the way that I could be perfect was to abstain, to be abstinent. So it was possible at the time for me to do it, because I did do it. But this time around, when I was 35, it seemed like an impossibility. And also, these vices that I had had really dug their fangs into me and were a part of the fibers of my being. It was part of my identity. It was a part of every part of me, and I didn't think that I could do it cold turkey. And I didn't even think about the previous time that I had done it cold turkey when I tried to do it this time. I just the thought of doing it cold turkey just turned me off to it. And so I knew I had to try a different strategy, and that strategy just was to do something. And that something that I thought I should do was a very little thing. And at the time, it seemed to me like it was a very little thing. And that thing was the first thing I did was I told myself I wasn't quitting everything. I was just slowing down. That was the first thing I told myself was that I'm not quitting, I'm slowing down. And so what is it that I can do to slow things down? So that was the first thing, was that the thought process that, it wasn't I'm going to stop this, I'm going to quit everything. It was I'm not quitting, I'm just going to slow the pace down a little bit. So what I did was, and I remember this was actually on a Sunday, and this is after I had gone to church and I came home, and I thought, what is it that I can do to show some commitment, but that's not going to hurt me as much with my struggles, with my vices, and the pangs and the urges that I would have. And I came up with the thing. I looked in my house and I decided I'm going to do two things. I'm going to get rid of my bong, which is which was my weed bong. And I had this bong for many years, but I thought, okay, if I throw my bong out, that is I'm basically gonna show myself that I'm committed to doing this thing. The other thing that I decided that I wanted to throw out was my pornography. Now, I had magazines and DVDs and these type of things in the house, and I thought I need to get rid of those. And so, some of you out there may not be struggling with your struggle might be different. It may not be with weed, and it may not be with pornography or sex, which were issues that I had. But I'm just going to show you how just making a decision on one thing affects everything else, even though it's not specifically targeted at the thing that you might have a struggle with. At the time, I just wanted to make a decision and I wanted to show some commitments. So the thing is even though I got rid of my bong, I didn't tell myself that I was going to quit smoking weed. I was still going to go out and smoke weed, which I did. And even though I threw out my pornography, my magazines, and my DVDs, I still had access to it on my phone. I just didn't put a stop to everything. There were still outs. There were still ways for me to get what I wanted to get. But I wanted that day to make some decisions and to do some things that were going to show commitment and that weren't going to cause too much stress. So it didn't cause stress because I still knew that I had access to those things, even though I was making the decision to do something. So I got rid of my bong and I got rid of my pornography. And literally, right after that, I went to a friend's house and smoked weed. And I think that was kind of my way of telling myself, hey, you're really, even though you made a decision, that was a really great thing. You can pat yourself on the back for that. But you're still going to have access to these things. And I guess for me, it just made me, it put me at ease that I was still going out and doing these things, knowing that, okay, I'm not really fully abstaining from everything. I'm not quitting everything cold turkey. I'm just trying to slow things down. And it wasn't it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a big thing because I could still go out, and which I did. I still went out and I still partied. And so I didn't even really notice it at the time because I was still partaking. It's just that I didn't have those things in my home. But because those things weren't in my home, eventually it slowed things down. It slowed the tempo down of my usage because the only time I was really smoking weed was when I was out because I didn't have any to bring home, or I didn't bring any home because I knew I didn't have a bong at the house. And I guess for me, the difference was is when I did have the bong at home, it was like I can bring the weed into my house, and I can always have the weed in my house because I have a bong here. But because I didn't have it there, I wasn't even trying to, but I knew, I guess subconsciously, that I wasn't going to have anything to smoke with in the house. So I was just going to smoke as much of it as I can away from the house. But that still eventually slowed down, that slowed down my tempo because I didn't have the bong in my house. But it was, the bong was also a reminder. It was like a trigger for me. It's like you see the bong in the morning, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I need to smoke some weed. But I didn't have that constant reminder. And as a result, it just ever so slightly just started to slow the usage down. Looking back on that decision that I made, even though at the time it seemed so trivial, it was such a little thing, they ended up being really big decisions that I made. And one of the things that I identified, and I didn't identify this until afterwards, is that I didn't have those reminders in my home. And because I didn't have something to remind me in the house, it it slowed everything down. It didn't slow it down overnight. It was a gradual thing, but I just didn't have those things to remind me constantly, and so eventually it just started to slow down. But the other thing it did is it gave me the confidence that I needed. So when it came time to make the big decision, I could make it. I had built confidence up because it was like, I'm not actually smoking in the house. It made me feel good to know that. Like I had, to some degree, some kind of control of what I was doing, or a say in what I was doing. Like even though I was still smoking away from home, I just I could put my foot down and say I'm not smoking inside my house. And by the way, I still drank and I still smoked cigarettes at the time. And those are things that I struggled with, some of the things I struggled with the most. But the decision that I made to throw my bong away and to throw my porn away, they eventually helped me to make the decisions to stop doing everything else as well. And I guess that's what I was trying to explain earlier, is that even though you may not be struggling with smoking weed or pornography or sex or anything like that, if you just started somewhere, that is going to have a knock-on effect on in other parts of your life. And I know that because of my own experience with it. So making those decisions gave me the confidence that I needed to make bigger decisions when it came time to do them. So it was a small thing that I did that eventually affected everything else in my life. And so I what I would say to you is, whatever it is that you're struggling with, make the decision today to start with just a little thing. And it doesn't have to be like this massive decision. It can just be a little thing that's going to help you to get the ball rolling, because that's all you need. You're not going to be able to eat the elephant all at once, but you can eat it one bite at a time. And I wouldn't focus so much on the whole elephant. as a whole, I would just focus on that one little bite that you're going to take, because that's going to give you less anxiety, and you're not really showing full commitment, which is really what gives you the anxiety. But it is a step in the right direction without setting off the alarm bells in your brain that are going to make it more difficult for you to do. You can have that same sort of mentality. You're not quitting everything. You're not quitting cold turkey. You're not trying to become a saint overnight. Those things it's unreasonable, and for most people is impossible to do, and creates a lot of anxiety that will also move you towards your vices because of the stress that it does cause. You don't want to cause yourself too much stress. But you do want to do something, and it can just be a little thing. And my suggestion, and this is only because I I've had time to unpack this and to study it out in my mind. The One of the best places to start, if you're going to start with anything, is in the home, in your house, your place. And I think I'm going to talk about this later on, because it is actually something that I go into greater detail about in my program, which is the Sober Soul system. But in my program, I talk a lot about the place, your home, being a sanctuary. Your home should be a soft space to land, like for you to come home and to feel at ease, to get away from the stressful things in the world. It should not be a place where you come home and are constantly reminded of the vices that you have. And so for me, it was like a bong and magazines and DVDs, right? There are things that I had, but those were reminders of my vices. And so I got rid of them. So maybe for you, if it's alcohol, if you have a beer bong at home, get rid of that. If it's a bong, try getting rid of that. But some people have like posters up of alcohol, or they got posters up of of things that remind them of their vices. I don't know if you've been in homes, but some homes, and you might be one of them, have they've got these walls of alcohol bottles or shot glasses, of all the different places that you've been around the world. Those are all the things that remind you of your vices. And I get that maybe some of those things are sentimental, because they they represent some of the places that you've been, or a moment in your life. But ultimately, they also are in your subconscious. They're wired into your brain to remind you of those things that you have, and also that it's part of your identity. But these things are also reminding you of the things that you are bound by, that you are shackled to, that you are tied to, that you are bonded to, that are destroying your life, that are ruining your relationships, that are affecting your finances, that are affecting your health. So I would start in the home. Throw away the beer bottles that you've been collecting over the years. Throw your posters away, your whatever it is. Just start with something. You can start small. I mean, and you don't have to start in a home, but I feel like the home is the best place to start, because you're eventually going to want to turn your home into a safe space, a sanctuary, a place that doesn't remind you of your vices, but a place that's going to build you up, and bring you peace. That's what you want. That's what you need when you get into your home. And you can do that um, by simply just removing objects in there that are reminding you of the person that you don't want to be, or the person that you don't want to become. So, yeah, that's what I'd have to say about eating elephants. You do it one bite at a time. You do things slow and steady. Make make small decisions. Don't stress yourself out. Don't overcommit yourself. Just just do things one thing at a time. And that one thing that one bite you're going to take, after you're done, you're going to take another bite. After you're done with that one, you're going to take another bite. That's how it's going to be. Build up your confidence slowly, but do that without creating more anxiousness and anxiety for you to have to deal with. That can be your fall. That can be the thing that undoes you. There there is a saying, it's line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. I'm pretty sure that's Holy Scripture. And I think that that's pretty good advice. I think that's the Lord speaking when he says that, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. That's how you should do that. You don't go from step one to step four. You go from step one to step two to step three to step four. You do things a little bit here and a little bit there, and eventually you'll get to where you want to go. I hope that was helpful. I'll see you in the next one.